have hot water coming in from here with a little bit of cold to bring it down to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. They're going to aerate in here, so the grain's going to be coming down, water in here, they'll aerate, and you'll see it in the sight glass. And we do that because you don't want to put the grains in the hot water. You have to use a lot more effort to get that porridge going. You aerate it here.
Like when you have to continually stir.
Yep, exactly. So it aerates, so it's already mixed. It'll go in about an hour, 149 degrees in the mash tun. This is the last spot where we're filling a vessel from the top. Everything else is all clean lines. It's filled and emptied underneath the water. Some of those arms look pretty mean. They almost what bad dreams are made of, but they don't spin fast. It's very gentle, and what that does is that forces the grains down upon themselves and presses on that false bottom, and that's going to hold the grain on top, and that liquid now at work is going to go through. So during the brewing process, the brewer will take a sample of the mash, check density and pH, and same with, we'll go down below and use this comb and grab a sample of the wort, also checking the pH and the, just to make sure everything's going according to the plan. When the lauter is done, we're going to transfer the wort to this unit. It's called a wort receiver. It doesn't do anything there. It just holds onto the wort, keeps it around that 150 degrees. So what that allows for us, while we're waiting for the kettle to be ready, start multiple batches right along. So yeah, so generally on a brew day or a shift, a brewer can get between three and 5 turns through the system.
Wow.
You know, three is generally the average going through. Yeah. So it's 2,100 gallons per batch at 70 barrels. Yep. So when the kettle's ready, we're going to transfer. Just watch your step here. It's going to transfer to the kettle. And how this guy works is that center unit is called a calandria. What that's going to do is this works like a big steam pressure cooker. What it'll do is it'll grab the wort through natural vacuum through the bottom of the calandria, pull it through the smaller tubes around the steam jacket. It'll heat the wort to a boil, and it's going to boil like this. And that basically makes it a very even boil. There's no areas for burning, there's no areas for carbonization, and it's super efficient on the boil. Very little energy is required. We don't open these either. So hop additions, we're not a hop-forward brewery. We do add hops to all of our beers. We have hop dosers over there. Those are all pellet hops on this system. We're going to add the hops to there, push another button. It's going to take the hop wort, swirl it through for a nice even distribution, kind of make a hop concentrate essentially, and then deliver it back to the kettle. Another unique thing with our kettle is we have a sugar table, which is pretty unique for us. It's we see a lot of them in Belgium. You don't really see too many here in the U.S. or anything. New Belgium has a giant one. But we add sugar to the beers, not to make it sweeter, but for increased alcohol by volume.
Really?
Our Allagash Triple, our house yeast, really enjoys eating white domino table sugar. The cheap stuff, nothing fancy. And that's what we add for our triple. I mean, we'll have 50-pound bags of this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And it works very similar to the hop dosers where we'll pour the sugar in the table. It'll mix it through a little spaceship-looking unit underneath with hot wort and deliver it back to the kettle. Our Saison yeast, though, won't even ferment on the cheap stuff. It wants fancy stuff. So we have to get the Belgian candy sugar, you know, the rock purple candy, and that's what we use for our Saison. Saison's pretty fancy. So that's what we do here. Another piece of efficiency is we're recapturing the steam in there, and we'll repurpose it in the kettle, and also in the wintertime we can send it out to other areas in the brewery to warm the brewery.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Oh,
That's a big piece here also is we don't use anything just once here at the brewery. We're going to repurpose every possible thing that we can all the time. Sometimes it gets a little ridiculous, but turning doors into chairs and things like that, but it's pretty awesome. So it's a big piece. Don't waste anything. Use everything you possibly can. So once the kettle's done after the hour, it's going to go into the last unit, and that's called the Whirlpool. That's where exactly what it sounds like. We're going to spin that wort. Looks like the light's not on, but there's not really much to see. There's a unit in there, but we're going to spin that wort. It's going to center all the proteins that we don't want that are from the grains. It's going to center the bits and pieces from the hops, and just get a nice little mix going. We're going to add our finishing hops, just like we did for the kettle. And then for Allagash White, we're going to add our spices. So we use coriander and orange peel. are the two spices that we use in our white. And it works a little bit different. You'll see there's a screen in there as opposed to just a cylinder. We're steeping that tea, those spices like a tea, making a tea and delivering it back in without the actual spices. Those get discarded from here. We don't want those chunky spices, especially the coriander seeds, going through our heat exchange at the end, and that's where we cool the wort quickly and send it to fermentation. So make a little spice tea into the Whirlpool. When after that hour, so an entire turn takes approximately 4 hours if you're just doing one, and have multiple going during a shift. Also, this system cleans itself, which is pretty ridiculous. No more climbing inside. That's dangerous. This part of the building, this was built in 2005. Rob's original Frankenstein dairy equipment setup was brought over and placed here. Unfortunately, we don't have, nothing's left from that original system. We did save the lauter tun, it's next door, which we used up until about 8 months ago. We still used it. We've upgraded for efficiency to a Braucon lauter tun. It's for efficiency and safety. We used to have to climb inside the old mash tun. No more climbing inside and cleaning. That's a key piece. So what we're doing on this system, it's about a 36 barrel system. We call it the 30 barrel system. What we're brewing on this is we're going to brew our house beer, which you can only get here at the brewery. It's a nice Belgian table beer. So we also on this system brew our Coolship beers. Now that's spontaneous fermentation. That is what the Belgians have been doing, making Belgian lambics for 300 plus years. We were the first brewery in the United States to do it, which is pretty awesome. That's a whole different process going on with Coolship beers. Out there, I'm saying 4 hours for a general turn. It's gonna take us about 8.5 hours to brew a Coolship beer. It's called a turbid brew, a turbid mash. We beat the crap out of wheat and barley for about 4 hours to almost the point where there's no nutritional value left. That is extracting stuff that you normally don't want in your standard beers, dextrose, all those types of things, all the tannins, yep. But we want that in there to feed wild microflora for multiple years inside oak. That's why. All the spent grain for that goes for compost. It doesn't go for animals. Pretty crazy.
Because
there's no nutritional value left in it. We've beat it all out of it. Also, the boil takes an additional 4 hours on a turbid mash for Coolship because we're using aged hops that are aged approximately 3-4 years, whole cone, and they smell like stinky Parmesan feet because of the aging, and that's bringing the alpha acids down to almost near zero and the smell up. So what we need to do is we need to boil to get that smell out. We want the preservation characteristics, not the hop bitterness characteristics out of those. So then we'll bypass the heat exchange. We'll bypass the heat exchange with a series of pumps and hoses and pump it out to our Coolship. We got a shed out back. We'll go check that out. And that's where it'll sit overnight to cool naturally. So we brew between November and December. Temperature is just right. It'll get pumped out there around 5 o'clock at night, and we'll bring it back in about 7 o'clock in the morning. That'll be enough time to bring it from 200 down to approximately 75, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it'll come back in, we'll give it a swirl, we'll give it a mix in a holding tank. That's gonna mix around all the wild microflora. Then we're gonna put it into oak barrels and immediately send it next door for where it's gonna sit for at least 2 years. Pretty awesome. Pretty cool spot. These are all our large fermentation tanks. There's a lot of white, Allagash white going on in here. Hoppy table beer. Some of our bigger sellers are fermenting in these tanks. So with these smaller tanks, with the smaller tanks here, they'll be filled by hose. So I was saying earlier, wort coming from the big brew house or the smaller brew house will come in on this line from out there. We'll look up a hose here, come to about here. We'll have another hose probably coming here that's going into our yeast bed, where So we have the yeast measured for inoculation, and we'll fill and inoculate straight up. For white, it'll be actively fermenting for 3 to 5 days at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll be in the tank at 75 for 2 weeks total. So at the end of fermentation, we are going to crash these tanks down to 40 degrees. So byproducts of fermentation, CO2 and heat. These are all jacketed with glycol. There's in different zones, food-safe glycol. So it's an outer wall glycol, inner wall fermenting beer. And we regulate the temperature. Even in the winter, we have to cool these tanks. They're going to be in here, and the CO2, we don't capture our CO2. What we'll do, we're not that big yet. We're not like Budweiser, where they're repurposing all their CO2. We'll send it down to that station down there, and we're going to scrub it, the CO2, and then slowly off gas, which is very good for the environment with this amount of CO2. So after those 2 weeks, we're going to use that glycol. We're going to crash these down to 40. I'll show you the software. But that's going to settle the yeast in the conical. We're going to harvest that yeast. You'll see a harvest yeast return. That'll bring it back. Once we harvest the yeast, then what we'll do is switch it up to the fuge. So we send it to a centrifuge. We don't filter our beers. They go through a centrifuge. It's a lot more efficient. It's saving almost 20% on loss, flavor, and green. Yeah. So it's a really efficient unit. So it's 50 degrees in here. We don't want anything to start growing. We don't want another fermentation process happening. So we keep it at 50 degrees. And we're taking fresh uncarbonated triple Belgian strong ale. It goes in these Jim Beam barrels. After 5 weeks, we will take it out. It's about 18% alcohol. We blend all the barrels together. Barrels are like fingerprints. In order to get a consistency and a nice, well-balanced beer, we blend it all together. We also blend fresh triple on top of that to bring it from 18% down to 11. It gets fused, conditioned, and then kegged and bottled. And we just kegged a whole bunch of it. The fun thing with this is we go through about 280 barrels a month here. And Rob obviously shook the right hands and drank enough bourbon with the right person at Jim Beam, because we don't have a middleman on these barrels. These come directly to us from Jim Beam, so we don't have to pay a middleman for all that stuff. So we go through about 120 a month. 280 a month, and we only use it once. We found that's it. So we'll play around with some wild stuff in these barrels that are spent. We'll offer to other breweries, accounts, that want to use use them as tables and things like that. Out here, then these pipes coming in. That's coming in from the small brew house next door. It's going to be pumped in here, and then we're going to inoculate into either these fermentation vessels, the tall traditional conicals, or we're using these repurposed dairy tanks, these horizontal tanks. We found, by accident or by trial and error, when we fruit our wild beers, when you're fruiting in a traditional fermentation vessel, the fruit's going to float. And we're using whole fruits. So in a horizontal, it's going to float, but there's more surface area on the fruit. Right. Yep. So that we fruit.
Like you're floating like whole cherries on there.
Whole cherries, whole blueberries, whole peaches. Yeah, it's whole plums. Yeah. And all of our fruits, we don't use any extracts. What's that?
How does it pull in enough flavor if the fruit is all
the alcohol and the yeast?
Yeah.
It draws it all out.
Yep. And it's not going to be like next door 2 weeks. It's going to be a year. Right. So during that breakdown process, yes, that's how you get it. Yeah. Yep. So what happens next door? That's Saccharomyces. That is brewer's yeast. That is very controlled, cultured. We know Allagash White is going out in 1 month. We start playing around with Brettanomyces out here.
You're talking years.
Minimum year, 18 months. Coolship beers, which is we don't inoculate. Those are going to take a minimum of 2. So it's pretty crazy. So you start adding these things up too out here, that this is less than 1% of our sales. There's also 20% loss. We have to dump 20% of product out here because it goes sideways. It doesn't ferment, things like that. And it goes into stainless steel, kind of get it off the oak. It'll hang out here for about a year. Then we start divvying it out. we take Helena and we put it in this tank, and we go. It's all local fruits. Earl and Nancy out in Leamington at Dole's Orchards. We get a lot of fruit from them. This beer called Pick Your Own. We're using 4 fruits, and it's all on the grow season. So Helena's in there. First crop that's ready are strawberries. Strawberries go in. Next coming are cherries. Then we put cherries in there. We also put cherries in that tank down there for a beer called Nancy that we named after Nancy. Then when after the cherries, it's blueberries. Blueberries go in there, and then it's around fall raspberries go in there, and that's a beer called Pick Your Own. That's going to hang out in there for about a year. And then conditioned for an additional month or 2, depending on what it feels like doing. So that's a really phenomenal beer. Very small batches. And like I said, all this whole program is less than 1% of our sales. So this is our Coolship Resurgam. This was bottled on August 24th, 2016. So what that means, it was a batch of 13, 14, and 15 Coolships. Coolship beers, turbid matches between November and December, bypassing the heat exchange, and then this little poppet bowl here. We'll have the hose coming from the brew house. We'll lower this guy down, hook up the hose to here, and this is going to catch all the whole cone hops. And then we're going to fill the Coolship. This is approximately, don't quote me on it, but let's say a nice even round number of about 15 barrels about. It'll hang out here overnight. In the morning, it'll go from 200 to about 75 degrees. Then in the morning, we'll pump it out through here to a holding vessel where we mixed and put in oak, and then out to next door. Obviously, before we fill it this coming season, we're going to clean out some of the. We're not going to have pollen in here, things like that. I've even seen snow in here, I've seen snow in here in the winter because we never close these windows. And this fan, what this is doing is this is constantly moving air from those windows across the rough cut pine and out. So a good way to explain it is kind of like having a well-seasoned cast iron skillet. I would say it's from a season, or if you want, I don't know if that's the best word to use, but when we first did a Coolship batch, we didn't see any action for months. We didn't think it even worked, and it really didn't come out that great. Now we see action within 24, 36 hours because the room is primed. All this rough cut pine is holding dormant microflora, bacteria, yeast. So when that hot work comes in here, it's going to steam up, condense on the ceiling, and then bring back down on there with all the little funky guys. So we brew between November and December. That's what we found is our wheelhouse and the perfect conditions. We've experimented with other projects in the spring. Some works well, some we'll see. We've just done some more recently. So last year we were able to get 13 batches of Coolship beer done. And we're building up our stock, which is really exciting. So saying the room is prime is a good way to say it because like John Van Roy at Cantillon, he had to move his Coolship. And when he moved it, he pulled out all the wood, the railings, every piece of wood from its original spot and moved it with the Coolship. And then he also took a whole bunch of old bottles of goose and sprayed down the walls and everything. Yeah, you saw the videos? Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It was like gardening backpacks.
Yeah. So we were the first commercial brewery in the United States to do it, 2006-07. And yeah, it's a fun thing. Now there's about 60 commercial breweries in the U.S. that are doing them. And we've either consulted with or went to, and just the same way John at Cantillon and Frank Bone did for us. We help out. It's not a secret. We love seeing other breweries do it. You know, it's exciting. It's really fun. On Coolship days, the brewery is a buzz. It's awesome. Everybody's just really excited. At the end of the old brew house, set up with like meats and cheeses and meat and Coolship beers and bread. And you just walk by and you're like, how's it going? Because it's an 8-hour process. And then when they'll say, hey guys, 5 o'clock, we're filling up the Coolship. And everybody comes out, to watch it. And it's a lot of fun. And being a turbot mash, it's super sweet, the word. So you can really taste it when you're in here. If you can't see because it gets so foggy in here, like especially me with glasses. If you get down here, you can see. But it's just such an awesome day. It's a fun time.